Hello, and thank you for tuning in for the second part of our COVID-19 series, talking about managing stress during this pandemic. We are your local advocates from Advocates Against Family Violence here in Caldwell. My name is Kaylee, and I'm joined by Gabby.
Hey.
And today we're going to be addressing parents and guardians specifically on how you can help the young folks in your life manage some of their own stress during this pandemic.
Our goal for you is that by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to, one, identify the impact of traumatic stress on youth and their body, brain, and development. Two, to understand how the COVID-19 pandemic increases stress and anxiety on youth. Three, to recognize some of the signs of stress and anxiety in youth by different age groups. And also to explore how to respond and help reduce some of that stress in youth during this time.
So one of the first things that we always like to talk about before giving some tips on how to manage stress is a little bit of research about how the brain and body develop when a young person experiences any type of traumatic event. So children who witness violence in the home suffer from the effects of trauma. Experiencing trauma impacts brain development, emotional, and physical health. There is a study done by the CDC and Kaiser called the ACEs study, which shows that the higher an individual ACE score, the higher risk for disease, disabilities, and social problems. So this pyramid on the right kind of shows what happens when a young person experiences different levels of trauma in their life. And at the top of the pyramid, you'll see it can even lead to early death. This research sounds really scary and kind of hopeless, but the really awesome thing about it is that it's helped us make connections between how our brains and body develop. And it's also helped us recognize that the other side to ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, is resiliency. And that's what we're going to be talking with you about today, are some different tools to help implement resiliency in your family and then in the life of the young people that you live with or work with.
And regardless of their age, youth are experiencing some of the same emotions that we as adults are currently feeling right now. Some of these may include like sadness, frustration, anger, fear, anxiety. In this pandemic, they're also experiencing some disruption in their families, schools, and communities, which greatly affects them. So if you look at our bullet points, the first one, this pandemic is increasing the risk of them developing mental health problems like stress, anxiety, and depression. The second bullet point, the young folks will respond with stress if they see their parents or guardians stressed out. And a recent study by the University of Michigan, in fact, found that most of the parents they surveyed, the pandemic was negatively affecting their parenting. Some of the parents are screaming more, they have increased their use of discipline during the pandemic. And this type of stress can become toxic when it's lived out on a daily basis for a longer period of time. And then lastly, uncertainty creates worry, right? Kids get worried too. They might not be able to verbalize it, but they worry about things like missing their friends, having to adjust to the new normal, whatever that may be, or getting sick or getting their family members sick. They might be worried about different routines at home and school and having a decreased sense of structure and security. Next slide, please. Kids experience anxiety and panic during disasters as much as adults do, only they might be better at hiding it. It's a widespread myth that kids are naturally resilient without the resources and local support to help them. The good thing is the greatest resiliency factor in combating toxic or traumatic stress is having at least one stable or nurturing adult in their life, one that can provide them with the support they need. No matter how personally resilient you may think your child or youth may be, they can't fully recover or handle stressful environments without some type of support.
So we're going to go through the different life stages of young people and just talk a little bit about how this type of stress might be impacting them, and then also what types of warning signs to look for when we're talking about these warning signs, it's just really important to note that some of these things that your young person is experiencing are totally normal. What we're really looking for is extreme changes in behavior. So responses to the pandemic can and will vary depending on the child or youth. The most important thing is to notice these changes. Take a note of their new and challenging behaviors and show empathy and patience to help them. So children who experience toxic stress tend to show some changes in their emotional and behavioral functioning. Here are some of the signs and symptoms that you may see exhibiting by babies and toddlers. So that's going to look like eating disturbance, irritable and difficult to soothe, general fearfulness or new fears, a language delay, feeling helpless or passive, easily startled, difficulty sleeping, nightmares or sleep disturbances, revert to younger behavior, and reenact trauma in play. And this one comes up for almost all of the life stages in a young person. And when we talk about reenacting trauma in play, what we're really talking about here is when a young person sees a violent event or hears something violent, and then they reenact that as they're playing with others or with themselves in their own bedroom or whatever that looks like for them. So if you start like hearing words that are inappropriate or violent actions, that is cause for concern.
And for children 3 to 5 years, again, look for changes in their behavior. They might be some red flags for you. Think about them being more restless or impulsive or hyperactive more than they're used to. Again, another general fearfulness or new fears if they're exhibiting some physical symptoms like headaches or vomiting. Difficulty identifying what's bothering them, or maybe some inattention, difficulty problem solving, daydreaming even, dissociation, irritability, maybe some aggressive behavior, feeling helpless or passive. They get easily startled more than before, or maybe they might be showing some difficulty sleeping or nightmares. And also if they reenact some trauma in their play, that might be a red flag for you.
And for youth, ages 6 to 12 years old, some things that you might notice are changes in school performance, physical symptoms like headaches or vomiting, saying they have no feelings about an upcoming event, increased anxiety or worry about their own or other safety, emotional mood swings, or maybe just being a little bit more irritable than usual, easily startled, sad or angry, difficulty sleeping, nightmares, problems with learning or focusing, attention behaviors, reverting back to younger behaviors, and then once again, that reenactment and trauma in play. Then when we're talking about 13...
Are we changing the slides? I'm still at the 3 to 5 years. Yeah, there we go.
And then when we're talking about 13 years and up, some things that you might notice are shifts in mood, disinterest in previously enjoyed activities, oversleeping or undersleeping, short temper, engaging in risky behaviors, sudden changes in relationships with friends or family, and then increased anxiety and depression.
Okay, so now for our second part, we're going to give you 3 ways that you can help kids help fight some of this stress during the pandemic. The first one is safety. Because children and youth are vulnerable to the emotional impact of traumatic events, providing them with safety through structure and security will help support their emotional well-being. So our number 1 tip is to create a safe space for them. So number 1, reassurance. Do it with, so the 3 R's. Reassurance. It's the adult's job to provide the security in the family. So reassure them of their safety and the safety you're providing for them and the family. 2, routines. Maintain your routines, even if you have to adjust them a little bit. If you're planning on homeschooling, it's a good idea to maybe set up a schedule for them to follow every day. Trust me, it'll help you in the long run. Routines not only help adults keep some structure in the home, but also provides the youth with a sense of safety and predictability. And then regulation, help them regulate their body's natural stress responses with some healthy strategies. We'll give you some, but remember, keep up some regular sleep patterns, eating patterns, and practice breathing exercises as well.
So when choosing a safe time and a safe space, one of the most important things
Next slide.
is to involve your child in the decision making of where that safe place is. So you can take a walk around the house and pick a couple of spots that can kind of be your designated safe space for those safe times. Limit distractions in those space. Be mindful of clutter or patterns in the area that could be distracting. Consider the lighting. Make sure the space is free of harsh lighting and loud noises as much as possible.
Okay, and our second one is providing them with some sensory tools, or what we like to call stress busters, that can help kids and youth release and redirect their energy. These are an essential part of helping them calm down and regain some focus. Some recommendations we have for you can be weighted items like bean bags or a weighted blanket, or you can even take a stuffed animal and insert something heavy inside, like bolts or something, but maybe not a favorite animal. They don't want to see you slashing that thing to stuff it with other things. That might be more traumatic. For younger children, sensory bins are a good idea, or maybe just a container filled with items that can stimulate the senses. Things like beans, rice, feathers, ground cinnamon even. Slime is another one, blowing bubbles, catching them. Shaving cream, I love shaving cream. Maybe spray some and let the child finger paint with it. It also smells great. So those are some sensory items you can try out at home.
So we're gonna just give you a couple of our favorites. One of my personal favorites that I actually have done with all ages is creating a glitter jar. And these are great. You can use a glass bottle, you can use an old water bottle, really whatever you have available. And then all you need, in addition to a clear bottle, is some glitter, school glue that is clear, and water. So just 3 really simple ingredients, and you put those together and you make your jar. The really important thing when you're making a sensory item is to use that sensory item to kind of talk about the feelings and emotions that are going on in your child's life. So you can use the jar and tip it over and think about, how do I feel when I see the glitter going from one end of the jar to the next? Or what am I feeling in this moment as I'm putting the glitter in the jar with the glue? You can also use this time to have a discussion about what's going on in that child's life. So what we like to do when we are running support groups or having hard conversations about trauma is give the young people we work with something to do that is tangible and artistic, because that can help create a safe space to kind of talk about our feelings. We will also leave a complete instruction guide and recipe to the glitter jar in our description of this video.
All right, so if you don't remember anything from this presentation, remember one thing, that connection is greater than corona. And that brings us to our third and final tip for you, that it's all about communication. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Ask them how they're feeling, normalize their feelings. Emotions are totally appropriate at this time, and it's important for them to hear parents acknowledge their own emotions too. And accept anxiety as one of their emotions. Also limit their exposure to what they're getting in the media. Spend more time listening to them, and kind of direct their attention to notice the good, not just the bad that's happening. Books can be great conversation starters, and we'll give you some resources on books that you can check out. Journaling with pictures or words and share them together. And then also connecting with others, friends, family members, reach out by phone, video chat, social media, practice social distancing, but also social togetherness, and be creative.
Perfect. So these are our bonus tips specifically for adults. One of the best things you can do as an adult in a young person's life is to model healthy emotional behavior, which also means modeling self-care. When you're taking care of yourself and you're showing the young folks in your life that that is a priority for you, you are teaching them to also take care of themselves. So some self-care tips that we have for you is feeling close to others, especially your own age. That helps reduce some of your own anxiety and has also been known to boost the immune system. So stay in touch with your family and friends, stay connected. Choose your battles, you know, that safe space that you choose in your home might really help with timeouts and breaks when things are getting heated and you need to take a break from a conversation. Practice gratitude, noticing what or who you're grateful for is a powerful remedy for anxiety and stress. Send a message or call someone to thank them or write down a specific thing you're grateful for in a journal and reflect and share that with others. That's a really great practice to have with the young people in your life as well. And then take some time in nature. For me, this is probably the most powerful thing right now is having a couple of hours a week where I'm hiking, if that's available to you, just going for a walk, just finding a spot in nature that brings you peace. And then stay active. That is good for your brain, that is good for your body, and that's also a great tool to involve your kids in as well for managing stress and anxiety. We will also share a link with you all about more information on self-care in the description of this video.
And we wanted to end the video with more resources. And of course, these are all free for you. Go Noodle is a great one. This is a website that has tons of videos that engage kids and youth with movement. So check that one out. The First Aid for Feelings workbook is specifically created for COVID-19, is available for free download at themoodsters.com, or even the Scholastic website will have that on there. It's also available in Spanish. It's a great resource. It's really cool. And then, of course, we have tons. I mean, there are books, lots of free books out there in multiple languages for you that are specifically created for kids to help with their emotional well-being during the pandemic. I wouldn't suggest reading all of these books. That might be too overwhelming for kids. So just pick and choose which ones you want to read to them. But we'll have a complete list of our favorites in the description for you.
Next week, we are going to be talking directly to teachers, coaches, and mentors in young folks' lives. So if that is something that you're interested in, tune in for that and share this video with the other parents and guardians in your life. We hope you have a great day and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.